60.7 million euros. That is what Chelsea are said to have paid for Maxence Lacroix, and I still cannot find a second source for it. 2 days of business today, Wednesday the 29th and Thursday the 30th of July, 2026. Some of what follows is signed, sealed, done. Some of it is still just noise. Every single fee gets weighed against what the player is genuinely worth, no exceptions. Is that Lacroix number even real? We will get into it. Watch, judge, and drop your verdict in the comments as we go. 60,700,000 euros for Maxence Lacroix. That's the number we gave you on July 30th, and back then we called it confirmed. Today, nobody else is reporting it, not one outlet. For a fee this size, that silence is loud. Does a 60 million euro move really happen with zero other sources? Our own records show Chelsea at 607 million spent this window from this single deal alone. That figure should not exist for one signing. So let's judge him on what we actually know. He's 26, peak years for a center back, ball-winning, physical, 190 centimeters, 88 kilos. His market value sits between 41.8 and 51.1 million. 60,700,000 blows straight through that ceiling. Palace also just locked him into a deal running to June 2032, 71 months of contract left. They sold from a position of strength, and Chelsea paid the premium. Confirmed or not, the number on the table is simply too high. Overpaid, plain and simple. Would you sign off on this fee? Yes or no? Comments. 60 million euros for Rodri. Not confirmed, still a rumor. But let's talk about it anyway, because the number moved. We covered this on July 25th at 65 million. Now it is 60 million. 5 million euros just evaporated. Here is why that actually makes sense. 60 million sits right inside his estimated range, 59.2 to 72.4. This is not a bargain. It is not a ripoff either. Real Madrid have only spent 25 million this window. One deal. So this would suddenly become their big one. Now the contract. June 2027, 11 months left. City had zero leverage here. Sell now or risk losing him for nothing next summer. That is the whole story behind the discount. And at 30, there is no resale plan. Real Madrid are not buying an asset. They are buying 11 months of Rodri being Rodri right now in midfield. Fair price. Bad timing for City. Great timing for Madrid. Smart business? Or City getting cornered? Comments. 54 million euros for Nico Williams. Here's the problem. Nobody else is reporting it. One source has this number. That's it. We flagged this exact figure on July 30th, and it was a rumor then, too. Nothing has moved. No second outlet has touched it since. So let's ignore the fee for a second and just look at the player. 52.1 million market value. The reported fee sits right inside his estimated range. That's the part that actually matters. 24 years old, peak years right now, and Athletic negotiated this, reportedly, with him under contract until 2035. That's around 107 months left on the deal. If this is real, Athletic held every card at that table. So here's where I land. If the number is accurate, it's a fair fee for a wide playmaker entering his best seasons. But I want to be clear. If is doing a lot of work in that sentence. One source, no confirmation. We've been burned by these before. Real move or same rumor wearing a new date? Convince me I'm wrong in the comments. 3 transfers, 3 sets of numbers, all checked before I said a word. That is the actual work. If you want tomorrow's fees verified before the headlines catch up, subscribe. That is genuinely why I keep doing this. 35 million euros for Santiago Castro, moving from Bologna to Roma. Here is the catch. We reported this exact fee for this exact move back on July 30th. Same number. And right now, nobody else is carrying it. No second source. A transfer this size should be everywhere. It isn't. So let's judge the man on the numbers we trust. His market value sits between 34.7 and 42.4 million. 35 million euros lands right inside that range. That's not a club getting robbed. That's not a club overpaying either. It's just fair. Bologna also had leverage here. Castro still had around 47 months left on his deal. Selling a 21-year-old poacher with that much contract remaining from a position of strength? That's smart business, if it's real. And for Roma, this is their only confirmed deal so far this window. 35 million committed, all in one name. At 21, there's resale value baked into this fee too. It's an investment, not just a signing. Bologna, with that leverage, should they have pushed higher? Comments, go.
33 million euros. For an 18-year-old who has not even signed yet. We flagged this one on July 30th. Same number, same rumor, still nothing confirmed. Juventus apparently have not moved off that figure, and neither has Bayer Leverkusen. Here is the problem. His estimated market value tops out at 15.2 million. 33 million blows straight past that ceiling. So why would Bayer hold firm? Because Alajbegovic is under contract until June 2031. 59 months left. That is not a player you sell cheap. That is a player clubs have to overpay for because there is no urgency on the seller's side at all. And look, he is 18. There is resale value baked into this. Juventus are not just buying a winger, they are buying 5 or 6 years of upside, if it hits. That if is doing a lot of work in a 33 million euro number. Is this deal even going to happen? We still do not know, but at this fee, right now, bargain or blunder? Comments, tell me which one. 25 million euros for a 20-year-old wingback. Not confirmed, still just a rumor, but let's talk numbers anyway. We flagged this exact fee on July 30th, 25 million, unconfirmed, same as today, nothing has moved. Here is why it still checks out. 25 million sits right inside his estimated range, 22.2 to 27.2 million. That is not Roma overpaying. That is the market working exactly as it should. Feyenoord had leverage here. Red still had around 35 months left on his deal. Selling clubs with time on the contract set the price. They do not chase it. And Roma? They have already spent 35 million this window on one other deal. Add this one, and you see a club building, not panic buying. At 20, he is not just a squad player. He is resale value in 5 years. So, fair price, on paper, if it happens. Bargain in 3 years, or a fee that ages badly? Tell me which side you are on. 25 million euros. That is what Monaco are supposedly paying Nantes for Matthis Abline. We covered this ourselves on July 30th, and back then we called it done. Here's the problem. Since then, nobody else has picked up this deal, not one other outlet. For a transfer this size, that silence is loud. So let's judge this on what we actually know, his market value. That sits between 19.5 and 23.8 million euros. 25 million sits above that entire range. Monaco have already spent 25 million this window on one confirmed deal. This fee alone would double that spend overnight. Is that smart business? Abline has about 23 months left on his contract, so Nantes were losing leverage fast, which explains why they might sell even at a full price. And at 23 years old, he still carries real resale value, so part of this is an investment, not just a shirt sale. Bargain? Gamble? Or are we all repeating a number nobody has actually confirmed? Prove me wrong in the comments.
So that's today. A few done deals, a few still hanging in the air. Anything I flagged as unconfirmed, remember, is still just talk. Nothing there is signed. Not yet, anyway. Tomorrow, we do this again with a fresh batch of business. But first, worst deal of the day. Which one? I want the real argument, not just a name. Drop it in the comments. I read every one. I reply, too. Subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's episode.